Heather. I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power, and coming up next on WAYO LP Rochester is The Sound of Tomorrow, where we've got some food news. We've got a hot pick. We've got happy holidays, the happiest of holidays. We've got an update, and we've got some tech news. We're not talking about the zebras this week. Sorry, the zebra ship has sailed. But first,
finally, you're here.
yes, I am, but I'm right on time. Sheesh, Ross, you look miserable. Is everything okay?
Heather, I think you know everything is not okay.
What? No, what? What's going on?
Okay, if you're going to keep pretending, how about I just read you my latest piece and we'll see what you think of it.
Oh, you've been writing again? That's wonderful.
Yeah, I suppose at least I did get some inspiration from the debacle. That's the one bright side to it all. Now, may I read this for you?
We're not going to do the whole thing where I talk about your expensive writing forum and get agitated about how you expropriate my name and character for all your tales and stories?
Not today. I'd prefer to just get right to it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Anything to find out why you seem so cross right now?
Excellent. Okay. Without further ado, I present to you Heather Zykowski, fully grown adult woman. Ahem. It was a dark and stormy night, the chill October air, swirling rain and misting swoops around the fair Johnson estate. Ross Johnson, he of square jaw and piercing chalcedony eye, stretched his muscled arm and beheld the peace and warmth of his comforting domicile. His faithful canine companions luxuriated in his presence, sleeping peacefully when, suddenly, fearsomely, there came a violent pounding upon the solidly wood-formed front portal of his home. Ross Johnson started. His sheeny hounds arose and began to bay with excitement. Who could it be? What could it be? At this late hour of 10:15 o'clock p.m. on a Saturday night? For verily Ross Johnson knew he had not invited guests, nor had he at this late hour ordered a repast to be delivered to his home. No! Cautiously, trepidatiously, his manly heart throbbing, no, not with fear, for unmanly would that be to feel fear, but instead with very masculine understanding that he was truly besieged and, at all costs, must protect his home. Does this ring any bells? Or any, doorbells, maybe?
No, not at all. But this is scary. Is this another based on real life story?
Yes. And fine, I'll continue. Hastily shushing his loyal guard dogs, attentive and protective as they stood, Ross Johnson crept stealthily, carefully, cautiously toward the source of the unwanted percussions. Chalcedony eye pressed to peephole. He there beheld Heather Zykowski.
Ross, come on. I mean...
Please don't interrupt me. There's more.
Okay. Go on.
Chalcedony eye pressed to the peephole, he there beheld Heather Zykowski. The autumnal storm had played havoc with her raven locks, now less flowing than they had been after the haircut incident, yet still very stylishly coiffed, yet dampened and gleaming as if oil slicked. The full-grown adult woman was bedecked in lavish finery, which is to say she was wearing that Halloween costume from when she was the White Lady of Durand Eastman Park like 4 years ago, which she kept resurrecting because she's lazy and not creative enough to think of a new Halloween costume, and it's basically just a cheap dress from a big box online retailer anyway.
Hey!
Proud breasts thrust high and buoyant, as though they themselves had been rapping soundly upon the unyielding portcullis. The woman opened her mouth to howl. Ross! Mike! I'm so sorry I'm late! Let me in! Her not waterproof at all mascara had raccooned down her mahogany eyes, lending a menace to her usually fair visage, and her carmined lips upon which the lipstick never budged, for she always proclaimed proudly, It's lip stain, not lipstick, as though anybody cared at all. They parted once again, this time to moan, Roz! Open the door! The heart of Ross Johnson flurried, for he knew not what to do. From the study then approached the dashing and debonair husband of Ross Johnson, the esteemed announcer Mike. Long, admirous legs eating the space between them, he appeared at Ross Johnson's side and queried, Who's there? It's Heather, answered Ross Johnson. Did we invite her over? No, I think she thought the party was tonight and not next weekend. Oh, she's so flaky, chuckled the kind and loving, too indulgent announcer Mike. Just let her in. Mike, if we do that, she's just going to eat all our cheese and drink all our gin and pass out on the couch like she always does.
Hey, I have never once passed out on your couch. Never once.
She's your co-host. You know best. I'm going to watch Dark Shadows. Tell Heather hi for me. Ross Johnson again peered through the look-see and saw the bedraggled, storm-soaked, despondent figure of Heather Zykowski. Her strong shoulders slumped as she began to turn away, streaked mascara appearing as though the fully grown adult woman was capable of crying real tears. Lacking her usual grace and sway, the woman clumsily descended the rugged, strong, even and safe stone-set stairway and approached her sensible SUV, a vehicle one might mistake as a marker of a responsible woman who could actually remember what night a party was supposed to be and not terrorize her friends who weren't expecting company. Ross Johnson heaved a sigh of relief when suddenly, there appeared at the very window the rain-soaked countenance of Heather Zykowski, grown adult woman who should know better.
Now wait, that did not happen.
Oh, so you remember now.
OMGP, yes, and I'm sorry, Ross. I did get confused, and Saturday night I did wake up from my nap and think I was late for your party, so I came over, but I didn't think you even noticed I was there.
And you didn't hear the dogs barking.
You say they bark all the time. You're always telling them to bark less.
You were a week early for a party.
I know, and it was embarrassing. You didn't have to write this whole thing about it. I was once a week early for a dentist appointment, too. And as far as I know, they didn't write any stories about me.
They might have.
They didn't. But Mike really said that you should let me in?
He did.
Your husband is nicer than you are.
Yes, he is. Is that news to anyone at all?
No, I guess it's not.
Yeah.
We've always known that, haven't we?
I'm not ashamed. I know who I am.
It's awfully nice.
Yeah, and I'm someone who's not letting you in.
Come on, I'm hungry. I want cheese, gin.
Everyone, I'm Ross Johnson. Hello, everyone. Everyone, I'm Ross Johnson. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Everyone, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host. Welcome to People Times Heather. Take it away.
I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. Welcome to another exciting episode of The Sound of Tomorrow right here on WAYO, LP Rochester. Ross just short-circuited for a moment, but I liked it. Like, you had this real gracious and welcoming tone that I think the SOT generally lacks, because I know I just come right in yelling.
Yeah, it turns out my mental break. It turns out my mental breaks are much friendlier than my normal demeanor.
That was great.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm cold.
Yeah,
it's
me
the
too.
time of the year where the sound of tomorrow is cold, and cold we will be.
I'm tired of it too.
I know. I'm already. It just began, and I'm tired of it already.
Ugh. Heather, what's going on?
Oh, I was gonna say, but you know what can be really nice to have as a little pick-me-up on a cold day of any kind.
Is this about booze?
I wish it were. No, it was just a pretty good segue. How about a nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Nope.
No?
Thank you, though. Not interested. No.
So, I have
Not
to
a fan.
admit, I don't eat a lot of PBJs, but there's an interesting thing I saw on NPR today that there's apparently like some kind of NFL locker room sandwiches were being served, and it led to a debate over the perfect peanut butter and jelly ratio.
Huh.
So I just thought it was so funny because somehow or another, like, thunderstorms interrupted the Buffalo Bills versus Kansas City Chiefs that were having a matchup. I'm assuming matchup means sports game, and those are our sports teams. And there
They are
was
indeed. They are
that's
indeed.
excellent.
Yeah.
And NBC Sports Michelle Tafoya was reporting during the game delay, and Michelle reports they are eating sandwiches, although a couple have complained to me that there's too much peanut butter on the sandwiches. It's like 70-30 with the jelly, so they're not enjoying those as much. And I was like, wow, this is probably the most interesting part of a football game I've ever heard of in my entire life. For me
Yeah.
personally, because I love to talk about food. And it made me start thinking, like, well, wait, I've eaten peanut butter and jelly in my life, and I could kind of go for one. Like, when I saw this article, I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I like that idea. So I was wondering if you had
Is
any
there
thoughts
more of a
on.
point to this? You heard a thing about peanut butter and jelly sandwich and thought peanut butter and jelly sandwich was good?
No, I want to know what your
I
perfect
need you to.
ratio is.
Oh, the perfect ratio.
Because
I mean,
the whole internet blew up, and people are saying, like, no way, it's got to be strawberry jam, it's got to be 60-40 peanut butter and jelly. Somebody else here weighs in saying 65-35. There's a lot of stuff about 60-40 is perfect, but so I wanted your
well,
opinion on this.
Ileana's right here,
Yes, I
and
thought I saw you
she,
petting a dog.
yeah, she is not. I think she is not a big fan of jelly.
Oh.
Um, so I think she can take it or leave it. So I think she would definitely want a more closer to 70-30, or maybe just 100-0 ratio of peanut butter.
Yep. That was
I think
also
the
seen as valid, like to have a peanut butter sandwich and then a jelly sandwich.
oh, see, I don't want a
Which to
jelly
me, I was
sandwich.
like, I don't know. I don't think I want the jelly sandwich.
I think I'm fully. I mean, I'm tempted. I'm not a huge peanut butter guy, nor am I a huge jelly guy.
Oh.
So, but if I were, I think I like close to 50-50. I think I'm pretty much like, because I would think I would like more peanut butter than jelly.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes that's too much, and then I'm like, oh, this could use a little more delightful fruit flavors. So I think I'm sort of 50-50. If I'm gonna make a peanut butter and
All
jelly
right.
sandwich, I think I'm going pretty much 50-50. But it should be a spicy pepper jelly. That would be the best.
Oh, see, the internet is definitely saying grape is the standard, but strawberry is permissible. I grew up with strawberry. Grape was not the standard.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it does say in this one tweet from a Charlotte Clymer, whoever that is, that apricot and other variants are needlessly deviant and reflect an absence of stability. Crunchy peanut butter is chaotic, fancy peanut butter is too fussy, smooth generic peanut butter is the standard. America's Test Kitchen, Kevin Pang from that program, reports that 5-4 is the optimum ratio of peanut butter to
Favoring.
jelly.
Okay.
A little bit more peanut butter than jelly.
All right. I could buy that.
Yeah. I I guess I don't think of peanut butter and jelly so often because it's kind of ubiquitous, even if you never make them yourself. It's
Hmm.
certainly not like, oh my goodness, what a strange concoction. Except apparently outside the US it is.
Okay.
Like it says in this article that it's a uniquely American sandwich. And the first PBJ recipe appeared in 1901 in the Boston Cooking School magazine of culinary science and domestic economics.
I mean, it's not a bad combination. I mean, it's all a little sweet for my taste usually, but like peanut butter is I mean, it's not a health food, but it's full of protein. It's a nourishing type thing, and you sort of mix it with a little, fruit-esque sort of thing. I mean, again, it's not like a salad, but you don't need to
Well,
have a
I mean,
salad. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with not having a salad. You can't have a salad every time. So it's I think it's a not unreasonable combination. I mean, there are some American things that I'm like, ew, that is gross. People are right about us, but I think peanut butter and jelly is that's a reasonable. You know, like I said, it's not my favorite lunch, but I'm generally pro. But I like a I guess I am deviant in that I would prefer
I
some
know.
kind of pepper jelly because
Oh
I
my
like a
gosh,
little
you're putting like
spice.
spicy guava jelly on that thing?
Yeah, something like that.
Ah, no. One of my, because do you ever have days where it's just, I know that you do, you've talked about it on this very program. Getting something to eat is just like a big problem.
Sure.
And you certainly don't want to put anything together. One of my little hacks for that, and I know this isn't unusual because I've heard other people say it too, just have me a spoonful of peanut butter.
Yeah, and again, I there's nothing wrong with peanut butter. It's not my favorite food, but I get it. I
Yeah,
get
I
it. I
really
mean,
like it, and
it's
especially on days
practical.
where I'm like, that's the thing. Like it's easy. You just need a spoon. And then maybe if you're being real fancy, a small dish to like set your spoon down on.
Heather, you know what else is easy?
What else is easy?
Robot dogs.
No, 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 no. Don't you dare. Don't you dare bring that robot dog back. Are you talking about the canine dog? The scary
What?
police dog?
Yes. Yes,
No.
the robot dog is back, Heather. I
Oh
can't
no.
the robot dog is back and badder than ever. I
No,
will tell
it's
you. So,
trotting down the street on those freaking weird legs.
okay, so I don't know if this is the exact same company, but it looks very much like the same robot dog that we have talked about in the past. You people might remember that the police outfits, I believe in New York, this was specifically they were talking about, were
Yeah, I believe
talking
it
about,
was in was it in the Harlem neighborhood, wasn't it?
well,
That they were
I mean, I think
deploying
there
these
was,
dogs?
yeah, so I don't remember exactly where, but something like that. So I don't know if this is the exact same company, but it looks the same. So the um
Digidog, that was his name.
oh, okay. So this robot dog is developed by Ghost Robotics. There was like an army sort of expo. It was the annual meeting of the Association of the United States Army. And I believe that's a trade group. It's not like the army doing it, but it's like a trade group that sells stuff to the army. Um, you remember how there was a whole thing about like, oh, these dogs are for, they're just nice. They're just gonna talk to you, and they're gonna encourage people not to do crimes, and they'll
Uh-huh.
if you do a crime, they'll sort of nuzzle up against your leg, or
Uh-huh.
whatever. It was very like trying to make it sound reasonable, and we were like, this is this is robot dogs sent to
It
chase black
sounded
people in New York City.
terrifying. Yeah, terrifying. Just so scary.
Well, there's been an upgrade to the robot dog.
And as you
Now
said, it's not to make them nicer, it's to make them
no,
scarier.
no, the dog now carries the dog now capable of carrying what they call the Sword Defense System Special Purpose Unmanned Rifle, which is
They gave the dog
um,
a gun?
they gave the dog a sniper rifle, a literal sniper rifle,
Oh my god.
so
No.
that the dog can autonomously snipe people. Apparently, specifically designed to. This is a quote. Specifically designed to offer precision fire from unmanned platforms. So such as the Ghost Robotics quadruped is what they're calling it. So again, I don't know if this is exactly the same dog that they were talking about in New York, same robot dog that they were talking about in New York, but it's like very much the same idea. And the picture, it looks very much the same. So this
Mhm.
from the company. It says, quote, featuring safe chamber clear and fire capabilities that allows for safe and reliable deployment of the weapon system, providing the operator an ability to load and safe the weapon at a distance. These features also provide the ability to clear malfunctions and safely unload the platform prior to recovery. Um, Due to its highly capable sensors, the Spur can operate in a magnitude of conditions both day and night. It's the future of unmanned weapon systems. So, um, DigiDogs now got a gun. Now got a gun.
Wow. That is
Not
That is
surprising
so.
at all. Let's be honest.
No, 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 not at all. When you started saying what the upgrade was, I wish I'd said before you read it, like they gave the dog a gun, right?
Yep. They gave the dog a
Yeah,
gun.
instead of saying it after that. Um, wow. So these are the digi dog with a gun. My understanding, this will be for military use.
Well, that seems to be the selling point, yes.
Okay.
But as we know, where does the military hardware, where does the fall season military hardware go once they're done with it and it's out of style?
That's right.
It goes to our
Yep.
local police forces.
It
So
certainly
um,
does because
if our
we've
local police forces can get tanks and Humvees from the
they can.
military,
They can.
they can certainly get a robo dog.
Yeah, I mean we have horses. Why not an armed robo dog?
And also, like, this is being sold to the army, but there's no reason why the same company wouldn't also want to sell it to local police. I don't think there's
Right.
any rule that says they can't. So, you know,
That's
enjoy
terrifying.
your tax dollars.
That I mean that literally every time I think about that digi-dog, it's terrifying.
Well, now he's got a gun. So, enjoy.
I hmm.
And I know, like, my dog, I love my dogs, but they're impulsive. Ileana would be spraying the neighborhood because she saw a squirrel. So I mean, it's not.
Well, yeah, I mean and she sometimes loud noises really get to her.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love your dogs very, very much. I'm definitely glad that you haven't given them guns.
agreed, agreed. Although their birthday is coming, so we'll see.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Um,
you know what? Can I just as maybe a segue that works here? Can I follow it up with another quick update?
oh yeah, definitely.
So, update on the Digidog. We've of course been talking about. We've talked several times now about the critical race theory stuff, the local schools, banning books, destroying knowledge, making sure that any knowledge of the existence of black people is kept out of the hands of kids who might be sad if they learn that they're white kids who might be sad if they learn that there are black people, or that if any white person in history ever did a bad thing, like I guess we're not allowed to talk about that. The latest,
Right.
and this it's not funny, haha, but it it struck me as funny because I feel like it's an example that we talked about. So a lot of these new laws are either you can't talk about stuff or you have to present an opposing viewpoint. And we talked about, like, okay, what's the opposing viewpoint to, like, slavery?
Right.
You have to teach that slavery was good, I guess. Um, so this was a story from Southlake, Texas, which Texas is rapidly becoming the new Florida, I feel like. This is
Oh.
from the Carroll School District, and this was actually caught on tape. Um, the top administrator there in the Carroll Independent School Districts in Lake, Texas, advising teachers last week that if they have and specifically, and there is audio you can listen to of this. This was recorded. Advised teachers last week that if they have a book about the Holocaust in their classroom, they must also offer students access to a book from an opposing perspective. This is Gina Petty, the school district's executive director of curriculum and instruction, made that comment last Friday, a week from last Friday, I believe, during a training session on which books teachers can have. So this training came 4 days and was in part prompted by it was the school board's response to a parent who was complaining that they learned that there was what the parent classified as an anti-racism book in their kid's classroom. So they had to have this meeting to tell teachers what things they needed to get rid of and couldn't teach. Um, so said, and make sure, said, referring to the law, and I guess in fairness to this administrator, they were referring to Texas law, which is House Bill 3979. So he said the exact quote was, and make sure that if you have a book on the Holocaust, that you have one that has an opposing comma that has other perspectives.
I but I what like a Holocaust denier book? Like,
Um,
I
well, so this is my question, and there are people sort of questioning this in the audio, and it gets sort of brushed off. Um, Basically, the description of the audio is that people sort of ask that question. Somebody says, I've got this. Another teacher mentions Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, which is a book from the perspective of Holocaust victims. Do I have to remove that? And then the question sort of doesn't get answered and they move on. So, I mean, my question is with the Holocaust, is the opposing perspective, I feel like you have to teach three different, really, you have to teach three different, obviously completely equal, reasonable perspectives, which is A, the Holocaust happened bad. That's one.
mm-hmm.
And then two is Holocaust didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then three is Holocaust great. We love it.
I
So I feel like you've got to teach the three, right?
Yeah, well, that's I'm really, and I've seen a little bit about this. I'm really stumbling on the you have to have something for the opposing view, because that definitely seems like with absolutely everything I can think of that might make a kid feel bad. Okay, we're teaching about feminism now
Mm-hmm.
and how women have more rights than, well, now the boy kids in the class, they feel bad because they're boys, and the girl kids didn't have the same rights. So then do we have to teach that women should have their voting rights taken away?
I mean,
I mean, just like when we're saying like we're teaching a slavery bad, the slaves are, there was emancipation, there's not slavery in the US anymore. Are we supposed to actually like have books that go like slavery was pretty awesome? Please don't clip
um,
that out of context, anybody.
yeah, seriously. Um, I think you are. I mean, I think
But
that is the,
how? Where are you even gonna get these? Like, where are you where are
yeah.
you gonna get the book that says the Holocaust was awesome? Like, what?
Okay, you've lived in this country for the last 4 years, and you
I
don't think
mean,
there
I
are plenty
guess
of
you
books
think that
that says the
there
Holocaust was
are.
awesome.
I don't want to. I don't.
No,
I,
so what they're going to do, but because, I mean, I think that's part of the strategy, though, is that, I mean, I think there are people who would take it to that extreme. But I think the strategy is,
okay.
oh, that's too complicated. Don't teach it at all.
Okay. Okay.
I
So
think
it's
that's the goal.
less. Okay. It's make it impossible so that people won't be able to speak on topics.
Right. So you just won't bring up the Holocaust or slavery or
Okay.
the civil rights movement or anything like that because
Okay.
it's too complicated. I'm sure there are people out there, probably a lot more people than I would like to believe. In fact, I'm sure more people than I'd like to believe out there who would happily go to the other extreme and say, like, yes, you should absolutely teach that the Holocaust was great. Please don't clip that out of context.
I mean,
but I think my suspicion is that the goal is we
okay.
just make it so complicated that
Okay.
we just don't, it just doesn't come up,
Gotcha.
because then you don't have
Gotcha.
to, because I think you'd rather, if your choice is between something that says, here's slavery was bad, or something that says slavery was good, where you have where the slavery was bad is probably always going to sound like the more reasonable argument. I think that's, I think you have to be pretty whacked out. And again, there are plenty of people who are, but
Oh, yeah.
I think if you give those to most kids, the majority of kids are going to be smart enough to realize, like, no, the slavery was bad argument is probably a better argument.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so I think I think your better thing is, like, let's erase it. Let's not have the discussion, because even though there are plenty of people who think slavery was good, I think people also, for the most part, realize that they don't win that argument. They're not really gonna, if you have that straight up discussion with somebody about, like,
Mhm.
whether slavery was good or bad, you're probably gonna lose unless you're in a room
Right.
of real, real whacked out people.
Yeah.
Again, which they're out there. Don't get me wrong.
They are?
So I think the goal is to erase it, because that's a lot easier.
Okay. Yeah, it does to get people to shut up.
Yep.
It, you know, this is interesting because, of course, you know how I like to take things to, the absolute ends of where the logic is going to go. And
Sure.
if honest and truly, the point of this, ostensibly on its face, is that we're protecting the children from feeling bad.
Right.
Is that correct? So
That's
I
that's one of the
think,
goals, yeah. Or one of the
yeah,
stated goals.
well, I'm going to go ahead and say there's something about absolutely every single aspect of education that makes a kid feel bad.
Yeah.
Some kids are bad at math and other kids are better, and that's going to make some of the kids feel bad. Same with
It
any
is
other subject.
I well, that's it. Any other subject? I don't think there's anything that's I mean, there's well, and yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think of if you're doing history right, there's no if you're doing history right, there's no aspect or person in history from any, talking from any discipline, or if you're talking about any person of any race, culture, time period, culture, there's nothing that's not complicated. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing if you're doing it right, like the more you look at somebody, the more or a place or an event, no matter how positive it seems, no matter how negative it
Mm-hmm.
seems, you're going to find complications. You're going to find things, that thing that was, seems, we're like, oh, this thing was completely terrible. You look at it, you're going to find complications. You're going to find complicated people. You're going to find, people who were doing it because they had no choice or whatever. If you look at the best, most admirable person or thing that happened, you're going to find complications. You're going to find things that aren't great about it. So, this to try to eradicate anything that's even remotely complicated about history, it's stupid. I mean, if I look at my own life, there's stuff, it's not like 100% great. I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
100% proud of everything I've ever done,
Same here.
by a lot, not
Yeah.
that.
And that's just my one relatively short in the terms of US history lifespan. You're absolutely
Right.
right.
Right. So I don't know how if you're teaching people, you're not just not teaching people stuff, you're teaching people not to think. Because
Yes.
if you can't process a certain level of complexity with regard to whatever the topic is, whatever the curriculum, whether it's math or history or whatever it is, a lot of this is about history. If you can't process at least a little tiny bit of that complexity, you're not really going to be able to process much of anything else ever in life.
Yeah, and it's baffling to me. And once again, I have to admit I run up against that thing where it seems like a lot of the people to me who are pushing the like, no, you have to take the book about Rosa Parks out of the little kids' elementary school because it might make the kids feel bad. They're so fragile and they need to be protected. These are the same people who will just run up to me and scream about drinking my liberal tears.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll laugh because they own the snowflake. And like, what, who's a snowflake? Like,
Yeah.
are we either protecting everybody's feelings or are we drinking up tears? Which are we doing? Just let me know, because either way, like, then I'll know. But these things of like, no, no, protect, oh, be kind, don't ever make anybody feel bad, and then screaming about drinking my tears, which you're welcome to them. They're
Mhm.
delicious. There are a lot
Yeah,
of them too.
sure.
So they're free. Um,
It is,
like,
it's you are absolutely right. I also think sometimes, and I've certainly done this too. We'll sort of we of the liberal tears will sort of go out pointing out these hypocrisies, like, ha ha ha, we have shown the illogic of your stupid path and how dumb it is and how it doesn't make any sense and how it's completely internally inconsistent. And they'll go,
yeah,
well, whatever, screw you. So,
and
you know, like, you're absolutely right. I also feel like we spend an awful lot of time thinking we won an argument.
No,
that logically we won, but that the other person's like, I
I
do
guess
not care.
so.
I do
I
not
guess
care
so.
about your lot.
Yeah.
This is why I have to sort of remind myself, because I think I'm sort of a natural conciliator, like in my heart. I want to, you know, and I don't think compromise is bad. Like if you're having a disagreement, I don't think compromise is inherently bad. So this is something I have to remind myself a lot. Like these people do not care. Someone who is terrified that their kids are going to learn that there was a black lady who sat at the front of a bus once, and that it will destroy their lives and their self confidence and their self esteem, and they will be completely destroyed. Um, and doesn't see the the ridiculousness of that, you're not going to win a logical argument with that person. You just kind of have
Yeah.
to,
I guess you're right.
make sure that that person is not in a position to make decisions. You have to do
Yeah.
whatever you can to make sure that that person is not in a position to make decisions for anyone's kid but their own. Ideally, not their own kid either. But
Right.
there's only so much you can do about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you're absolutely right about that. I guess I'll never know. I don't know. Which are
You
we
know what?
doing today? Coddling or drinking tears?
You know what? You know what? I'm completely taken over here, and I'll let you have your part in a minute. I have one more just because it's a good segue. Can I do just one more? This isn't really an
Yeah,
update.
and I have one more that I think might go along these lines as well. If
Okay,
this is somewhat
so
related.
the this isn't so much about education, but it's a little bit about it's actually kind of about education. So Governor Mike Parson, the governor of Missouri, the Governor Mike Parson is very upset and arranged a whole and did this whole gave a whole like a speech and did a whole series of tweets about how they have contacted the local prosecutor. They are going to this because there was a crime committed, Heather, and they're going to they're going to prosecute this crime to the full extent of the law, and they're going to destroy this person who is targeting Missouri teachers,
Oh my
and they are
goodness.
going to make sure that this is destroyed. So basically, what happened is a Missouri newspaper realized that they were doing an investigation, and they learned that all of the teachers in the state, whatever database thing, um, all of their names and personal information were not encrypted. They weren't secured. They were they were in the HTML code for like the state education website or whatever it was. Um, so literally, so I'm not much of it. I'm not a computer hacker. I'm not a genius. But basically, what the newspaper was saying was, and it wasn't like, oh, we're publishing all these names and information. They literally, so if you do, if you right click on a web page and you say show source code,
Yes.
that's literally what they did. And all the information was available. You can also, I'm not a hacker, so I also learned you can hit F12 and do the same thing. So that's, I guess, hackers, like real good hackers, know that.
I bet they
So,
would. Sometimes I accidentally hit F12 and now I know now I know
yep,
what's happening.
now you know what's going on. So, and the newspaper was just like, was doing like an expose of like, this is bad, that this is, you can do this. The governor is like, these malicious hackers who have hacked into our secret thing are going to be destroyed. Like it's a series of, he came out and gave a like speech to the press. There's a whole series of like 12 tweets with like, oh, these hackers, and we are going to prosecute, and we're going to go after these hackers who have broken into our highly secured system, and blah blah blah. And people are like, and it's in the thing. He's like, they have uncovered the HTML source code of our website. So it's right. It's not like he's trying to obscure something. It's like he clearly does not understand. And at no point, and what kills me, you think at some point before you go and give this speech to the press and send out this press release and do these things, you would ask somebody, like, surely there's somebody in your office who understands this.
Yeah, or maybe there
But
would
he's
be an
like,
advisor, maybe some kind of kid, some kind of intern, like a kid who
some,
understands computers.
yeah, yeah. But he says, decoded the HTML source code. And
Wow.
I mean, he's being read for this mercilessly, of course, on social. I
Well,
don't
let
know
me
what
tell
difference it
you,
makes.
Ross, there's a restaurant that I wanted to visit, and I hacked in to their menu by using Google.
Right. That's, I mean, I don't know if that's an education thing, but I guess it feeds in a little bit in the sense of like, these are the people running things. I mean, I understand, you know, I understand you're not necessarily going to be, if you're an old white guy governor of Missouri, maybe you don't know, maybe you're not great with computers, and maybe you don't need to be.
Right.
But
And
you'd
that's
think
why I
you'd
said maybe like some young intern.
right, somebody, or you'd know at least to ask the questions before you put
Right.
the entire law enforcement apparatus of Missouri on this reporter who right clicked on your webpage.
Yep. Yeah. I
And
mean, that's
basically did it to say, hey, there's a security, you've got a real security flaw here. You should fix this.
right.
Did it not to release all this information, but to say like, hey, all this information is easily available.
Hmm.
You need to fix
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, definitely. It just seems like a huge overreaction and a huge misuse of public facilities, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not that cheap to just deploy the police.
Right.
Yeah, you'd think he could have asked someone. I am like you, I'm not making fun of him for not knowing like HTML and coding and where to find the source code and stuff.
Yeah.
It seemed like a rash decision.
Yeah.
Um so there's something else. I mean, this nation, I think that we're having a great discussion pointing out all of the things people have to be up in arms about
Sure.
here in the US. But just to heap it really on. This is from salon.com. Ross, I need to tell you, it's not even Halloween and Republicans are already claiming that Biden is stealing Christmas. The war on Christmas rhetoric began
Of
on October
course.
4th with a Fox and Friends segment, and it won't stop anytime soon.
Begins earlier and early. It
Yeah,
comes War on Christmas season comes earlier and earlier every year, doesn't it?
I know it is so early. So there was a House Republican, they don't have his name in here, tweeting this week, and there's a picture of Biden is like, this is the guy who's trying to steal Christmas. Americans are not gonna let those happen. That was captioned on a picture of Biden. And apparently this year, the outrage so early about the war on Christmas is because of the shipping bottlenecks around the world
Oh, sure.
and the supply chain issues. And there are certain news outlets that have taken this argument a little bit further, seeming to suggest that Biden and in some cases public health authorities are actively conspiring to stifle the Christmas celebration for some reason.
Um, yeah, there was a similar conspiracy theory. Similar only, and then it made me go like, why would he do that? Um, so there was a statement I believe the FDA or the CDC put out about aspirin therapy, and suggesting that, and this is something I actually talked to my doctor about not too long ago. Like the science on that has just been changing for a while. The medical recommendations have been
Okay,
changing on that
yeah.
for a while. Like it used to be a very common recommendation, but over time, as more and more people did it, they found, with potential stomach bleeding, brain bleeding, the risks can outweigh the benefits. And the benefits, the risks are higher than maybe they thought, and the benefits aren't as good. So they put out an official statement about that with the latest research. Like, we're saying maybe don't do this so often. Is basically what the new recommendation is for doctors. The conspiracy theory around this was that there had been so there's this sort of conspiracy theory around blood clots and COVID. How the COVID vaccine is giving people blood clots, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
statistically insignificant and a lot less than people are getting blood clots from COVID. But the conspiracy
Right.
is that the vaccine will give you a blood clot that will kill you. Aspirin, if you have a blood clot, aspirin can be something that can be a blood thinner that can help with the blood clot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So the conspiracy is that Biden is trying to get people not take aspirin so that when they get the vaccine, they will get a blood clot and die, and they won't take the aspirin that will save them. And it's sort of like this Christmas thing. Like, why would the president? I mean, maybe he's a psychopath who just wants to kill everybody. But other than that, what would the president benefit from killing everybody who got a COVID vaccine? Like the president who's going like,
Right.
"Hey, get the COVID vaccine all the time." If
Yeah,
people started dying en masse, that doesn't really help him. The same thing with like nobody gets Christmas presents this year. That's not going to be great for his reelection.
no,
Like to do
no.
that on purpose.
Yep, but apparently Trump has already jumped on this bandwagon. He sent out a mass email through his PAC and called this year's holiday season Biden's Blue Christmas, which, gotta say, catchy, very catchy.
I like it.
Um, a host of something, Brian Kilmeade, says it's not Biden who's doing it. Do you know who's actually canceling Christmas this year?
Ooh, who?
Dr. Fauci.
Oh, sure.
No wonder Dr. Anthony Fauci is about to cancel Christmas. We're not going to have any presents anyway, so it's really going to work out. I don't. It's because Fauci gave some guidance on how we should handle family gatherings for the holidays this year, just like last year,
Right.
because, oh, there's still a global pandemic.
Right. People are still dying at a pretty fast clip. Yeah,
And when not dying, they're getting very ill.
well, this is like the whole thing about not being able to process things. I mean, again, there's the to do that, you know, it's one thing if you're saying it's incompetence, but these conspiracy theories seem to be like, no, Joe Biden. I would say probably the most overtly religious, you know, a lifelong Catholic. I would say the most overtly and obviously religious president in modern history.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly more so than Donald Trump, who didn't know the
Right.
difference between the Old and New Testament, and apparently would go to church when nobody was looking, but never when anybody was looking. But it was a secret and it was very personal. And I don't really know who Jesus is entirely, but I'm pretty sure he was a guy. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I know he's the great Christian hope, but in the case of Joe Biden, and again, I don't honestly, as long as you keep it out of my face, I don't care what, you know, I don't care what your religion is, as long as you can get around it, you know, as long as you can work around it when it comes to doing your job. So doesn't bother me much either way.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the idea that this very staunch lifelong Catholic president is going to cancel Christmas, but the president with the wife who was on tape saying how much she hates Christmas.
Right. Yeah. He's all for
Yeah,
it, though.
yeah, he's great. So it's I just don't know. Again, this inability to sort of process things. I don't know why people think Joe Biden would benefit from everyone having a terrible Christmas. Like, I
But,
don't know what people think that would do to his election prospects. It's not
and
something
it,
you'd want to do on purpose, really.
yeah, and I would be curious because I've known that there is a an idea that there is some kind of war on Christmas in the
Yep.
US. I don't think there is. I really don't. I think the minute the Halloween decorations come down, the Christmas ones are going up. I've already seen some crossover at the stores, and these are just normal stores, not specialty stores. So
Yeah.
I don't even know like what people are so worked up about. But apparently, there was a book written by right wing radio host John Gibson. And I'm going to put this on my wish list. Maybe I should actually, I should probably study and find out more about this. But there's a 2005 book called The War on Christmas: How the Liberal Plot to Ban the Sacred Christian Holiday is Worse Than You Thought. I consider myself a liberal. I do. I feel I'll be honest, I feel really hurt that I've been left out of the plotting on this.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been going on for like 16 years and nobody from the liberal agenda has so much as like tweeted at me, for goodness
Right.
sake. Like
Right.
nothing. Nothing. And if this is a liberal plot, why that so not you either, that haven't gotten you?
Well, I don't want to
They
say they
didn't
haven't.
contact you about it?
We're frankly we're a little worried. You don't keep secrets very well, so we need to keep this a little bit
Oh.
under wraps. And yeah, it's weird.
No, I don't know.
I don't know what people think is going to happen. I mean, you know, because a lot of it too is very like wishy washy. Like someone wished me happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. The war on Christmas is like, well, I
What? I mean,
what I then don't take. You know, there's my alternate greeting is F you. I mean, I don't know what, I'm
Yeah.
not under any obligation to give you any particular holiday greeting, just
No.
because, just because like you want it. I mean, I'm sorry if you feel like my giving you a friendly greeting that wasn't the exact one that you wanted felt like a personal assault. I'm sorry, I'll go cry my liberal tears about it, I guess, but it sounds like you're the one
Right.
who's
Yeah.
more upset.
I know. My goodness. Yeah, I don't know. I I there are people who rail against Christmas, but in my experience, that's generally people who've had kind of maybe, issues with their families and things. And it's definitely a more personal thing to them. Plus, I think another thing that it's kind of almost a little easy for me to overlook in this whole like the most sacred of holidays for the United States of America. Yeah, separation of government and religion here. Like we're not a Christian nation.
Well, and honestly, I mean, this is anecdotal. The only people I know who, and I don't even know if they've railed against Christmas, but I mean, the only people I'm familiar with who are specifically anti-Christmas or want nothing to do with Christmas in their own lives. I mean, I can't even think of anyone I know who's like railed against Christmas, but um, are Christian groups.
Mm,
I've known Jehovah's Witnesses who don't celebrate Christmas for that reason. Um, the Puritans, who we supposedly love, thought Christmas was very bad and wanted nothing to do with it and wanted to outlaw it. So, I mean, you also don't have to be a you also don't you don't have to be a Satanist to not love Christmas. I mean, a lot of people who don't celebrate Christmas are Christians
uh-huh. Yeah.
who feel like it's an inappropriate an inappropriate celebration for whatever reason. So I who care? Yeah, and I mean, but really, what it comes down to is exactly your point. It's America. I can do what I want.
Yeah. And it
If I don't want to
definitely
celebrate
is.
Christmas, it's not a war on your Christmas. It's just me not celebrating Christmas.
Have you ever had somebody get like really angry at you for responding happy holidays when they say Merry Christmas?
Um,
I'm
Not that I've
trying to think if I
noticed.
have. Yeah, if someone's been disappointed, they certainly haven't expressed their disappointment in a way
Yeah,
that it was made overt to me.
I think I've had a couple instances where I've said Happy Holidays, and I've gotten. I mean, this is a little thin on this. This is a little thin case I'm making here, but I've had people where it seemed very pointed. The Merry
Yes.
Christmas response seemed very pointed.
I think I've
Like,
had that too.
mm-hmm,
And this is where, for example, the Trump voters in my life would tell me that when that happens, to you or to me, actually to us as human beings, that's when our eyes pop out and our jaws unlock and we go leaping across the counter screaming happy holidays.
yeah. When really I don't care. I just want to leave. I'm just trying to
Well,
get out of there.
that's yeah, I mean that interaction generally happens when I'm, for example, at a store.
Yeah.
I collect my purchases and leave.
Yeah, and if someone says Merry Christmas to me or Happy Hanukkah or anything else, I really don't care. I just go, "Thank you," and bye.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and if I
nice.
know, and I will say, I generally say Happy Holidays in part because I know people of different faith traditions and no faith
That's the
traditions
thing. Yeah, like if I
who,
know somebody who's celebrating Hanukkah, I won't say Merry Christmas to them. I'll say Happy Hanukkah.
but if I know for a fact that somebody celebrates Christmas, I say I'll usually say Merry Christmas, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I say Happy Holidays because it's like you can have whatever, I'm wishing you a whatever holiday you want to have. Have it
Yep. And
happy. That's
heck, I'm
sorry
including
if
New
that's
Year's in
like
there.
so
Maybe I'll
so
just say that year
terrible.
round. Maybe that'll be my new year round greeting.
Yeah.
I just
Happy
mean
Arbor Day.
all the holidays,
Happy Arbor
all of
Day.
them, especially Halloween.
It's true. Um, on this liberal note, since we have like 1 minute left, can I do a quick hot pick?
Oh, do a quick hot pick. I want to hear it.
Okay, so this ties in with our very liberal,
I
our
know
very
we did it.
our very liberal
This was
show.
this was a more normal show.
This is going to be about as good as it gets. So I got myself my hands on a copy of State of Terror, new novel from Hillary Rodham Clinton and Louise Penny, which I was excited about because I sort of I haven't read Louise Penny, but she's a Canadian author who does sort of like Agatha Christie ish slightly, but more modern, but um, in a sort of pastoral murder mysteries in a Canadian small town kind of thing. Very very popular, very well. And I haven't read any of her books, but it's always I'm sort of familiar with her, and it's always sounded like up my alley. And so she's doing this. I heard she was doing this political thriller with Hillary Clinton, which I was sort of like, oh, that's fun. And I got it. I ran out and got it because I ordered it because it was it was one of the situations like we talk about where, oh, I can get an autographed copy if I do this.
All right.
So that's sort of fun. So, but the book is great. And I'm not always, I like political thrillers, but it's usually the kind of thing where, um, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's like a James Bond movie sometimes where I'm like, why are we in Morocco all of a sudden? I've lost the thread here. I don't, they tend to be very complicated, and it gets to a point where I'm like, I don't remember what's going on or who these people are. You come back to somebody 5 chapters later and I'm like, I don't know. Why are
Okay.
we, okay, we're in Berlin now, I guess. I don't know but this is very human. It's very well written, and it's very character focused, much more than I would have expected. It is really for what seemed like it might be like a vanity project of, oh, here's a popular author who's going to write a book with Hillary Clinton. It is fabulous. It is really
Oh,
well done.
wow.
I certainly recommend it a lot. And they also seem very cute together. Apparently they've made friends in the little little webcast I was watching. They were talking about like, being old people and making new friends and finding new friends. And they seem to hang out at her like house in the country and looking like a couple of old, I mean, I feel like there's like Chardonnay and gossip. I don't know. It looks like a
Yes, that
very
sounds
cute,
so
it
nice.
looks like an adorable old white lady thing going on. And I just sort of love the whole scene. So, yeah,
Oh,
State of
that
Terror.
sounds great.
Yeah,
You
that's all I
know
got.
what does not put me in a state of terror, Ross?
Is there
The
a thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's one
okay.
thing in this world that doesn't put me in a state of terror, and that is the fantastic program Music Matters, coming up next on WAYO LP Rochester. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
You were really a week early for a dentist appointment?
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
So, okay, so what did you do?
Well, I laughed and thanked him, and I said I'd come back the next week, and I did.
Okay, that's actually actually reasonable.
So, can I still come to your party this weekend?
Okay, can you promise not to eat all the cheese this time?
I'll bring extra cheese.
And extra gin?
Done and done.